So this video is to help you with the directions in case you're having trouble. Now this is assuming that you've already done steps 1 through 3 in your booklet. So if you haven't, go ahead and pause this video, make sure you do that. But if you have, you should have this screen open. Then it asks you to add all the dimensions and whole notes you see below for the picture. And by the way, when we're done, this is what the final product will look like more or less. You can see it has all the dimensions and all the tolerances. But to start you off, we're going to add the dimensions. So to add the dimensions and the whole notes, we're going to click annotate, we're going to go to dimension, and we can just add some random ones like this one. And then we could also add the total length here. And there's all these chain dimensions, so I can just add one of those just to show you a general idea. You need to add all of these dimensions. I'm just showing you a couple random ones. And then we also need to add these 4 whole notes. To add the whole notes, what we do is we click hole and thread, we click on a random hole. And if you click hole and thread as a dimension, it gives you everything you need to know about the hole. We've learned this before. And so I'll go ahead and put this one down as well. And you get the idea. Hopefully, with this in mind, you can go ahead and put all the dimensions down as it asks for. Then we'll move on to step 5. Again, you're not done until you've put all the dimensions down. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to step 5 because I'm not going to show you how to do the whole thing. Just helping you get started. But in step 5, it asks you to add appropriate precision and tolerance for each and every dimension. That means we add one for every single dimension. And then it gives us some directions for each one in 4 parts. So the first 3 are giving me very specific tolerances for very specific dimensions. The last one says, for all others, use general tolerances. So that's talking about this. These are my general tolerances. So if it has 2 decimal places, we would use this one, for example. So let's look for one with 2 decimal places, like this 2.00. We have that right here. So how do we add a tolerance so we can do what it asks here for all of them? How can we add that tolerances like it is in this answer key? Well, sorry about that. To do this, it actually says at the bottom of our booklet. It says to add a tolerance to a dimension, we need to select the dimension and then choose edit. So we're going to right click on the dimension, we're going to go to edit. And this screen pops up, or you could have just double clicked on it for the record. And then we're going to go over to precision and tolerance. And then we are going to override the displayed value. And I'm just going through what this says. And then we're going to choose the type of precision. Well, if we look, 2.00 is, well, it's not specified anywhere, so it's this last one. For all other dimensions, use the general tolerances. Well, that's 2 decimals, so we're going to add a bilateral tolerance, which it says right here. Note, in Autodesk, they call bilateral symmetric. So we click on the symmetric tool, which gives us a plus or minus value, makes it bilateral. And it says plus or minus 0.0, so 0.010. We hit OK. And if you notice, it didn't give me all 3 decimal places like it did here. And the reason why, if we open it back up, we can see, actually, it's because I didn't actually give it any precision. I didn't add a precision. So I can add a precision to my actual unit itself, so I can give that 6 decimal places if I want to. I don't want to. I'm going to put that back at 2. But this one needs to have 3 decimal places. My tolerance needs to have a precision of 3 decimal places. So now it looks right. And again, how I figured that out? Well, I read my directions. So I can do the same thing for this 1.25, and I'm not going to do all of them for you, just a few, just to give you a general idea. I can add symmetric to it. I can tell it to be 3 decimal places, and I can say plus or minus 0.010. And there we go. And again, you can do the rest of these general tolerances on your own. You can add all the dimensions on your own, then add the general tolerances after. Let's go ahead and talk about how to do A. So A is talking about this big one right here, this 5. It says make it a limit dimension. It says limit dimension is just known as limit. That was nice, Autodesk. But how do we do it? Okay, well, it's going to do the same thing. Since it's just a dimension, we're going to double click on it. We're going to go over to precision and tolerance if we need to. But this time, it tells us to click limit. So I'm going to click limit stacked to make it stacked. If I didn't want it to be stacked, if I wanted it to be next to each other, I would click that. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it on stacked. And it says to give it a value of 5.2 and 4.8. So I'll type in this one as the upper limit is 5.2. And I'll tell the lower limit to be 4.8. and I'll hit OK. Now it also says give it a precision of 1 digit. If you notice, these are 2, so to fix that, I'm going to change it to 1 decimal place. Hit OK. So hopefully with that, you can do the rest of the dimensions. But the whole notes, however, those are a little different. They have a little bit different rules. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we click on the whole note, and this screen pops up. And how am I getting this? Well, I'm reading my directions here. So select the whole note, click edit. So we could have just right-clicked on it and went to edit, just like before. Or we could just double-click on it, and then we click precision and tolerance. And it tells us to uncheck global precision. And then it says to use the additional arrows button at the bottom right to open everything up. And if I want to add a tolerance, I simply just click tolerance. If I want to change the precision of the first number, I can to whatever I want. But once I add my tolerances, okay, what do I need to do? It says right here, give it a tolerance of what? For the bilateral, for this one specifically that we're looking at, that we clicked on. It just so happened to have its own specific tolerance. It says a 0.002. So since it's not a general one, I won't use these. Instead, I will use the specific directions here. And it says plus or minus 0.002, so I will tell it to be 0.002. And I'll tell it to be symmetric because it says to be bilateral or symmetric. And I'll hit OK, and hit OK. And if you notice it says plus or minus 0.00, well, yeah, that's because we didn't make it precision of 3 decimal places. So we click on precision, we go to 3 decimal places instead of 2, and hit OK, and there it goes. And so hopefully you can read the rest of the directions here and add the correct tolerances, and for all others, every single one, add the general tolerances to it. And so you can do that pretty easily, even in the whole notes. You just click on it, and you go to precision and tolerance. You turn off global precision, and you open this up if need be, and you can turn all tolerances on, and then type in the numbers and the precision, or the symmetric or bilateral, whatever it needs to be, as you need. And you can see how it kind of adds to it, and you can add to it yourself. But hopefully with this video, you now know what you're supposed to be doing, and you have a general idea of how to actually put the tolerances and precisions